Welcome to my channel, C.S. Lewis Spirit. In today's video, we're diving deep into something truly mysterious, something that just might change the way you see the world around you. Have you ever had a strange dream that felt too real, or a sense of presence when you were completely alone? Have lights flicker for no reason, or a soft feather appear in a place where it shouldn't be? If you've ever asked yourself, was that just a coincidence, or was something else trying to reach me? Then stay with me, because what you're about to hear may surprise you. There's a hidden language in the universe, one not spoken in words, but in subtle signs, quiet nudges, and gentle reminders. For centuries, people from every culture and corner of the world have believed in the presence of guardian angels, beings of light, guidance, and protection. And while we might expect their arrival to come with dramatic flashes of light or booming voices, the truth is they speak in much quieter ways, through signs, through feelings, through moments we dismiss as nothing. This isn't just about religion or blind faith. It's about patterns, real people, ordinary lives, and unexplainable events. The 7 signs angels have been visiting you aren't just folklore. They're real-life experiences shared by people who once doubted too. And once you recognize these signs, you'll never unsee them again. Let me tell you about someone. Her name is Laura, a nurse, a mother of 2, always grounded in science and logic. But last winter, something happened that shook her to her core. She had just lost her father. The grief was unbearable. She couldn't sleep. One night, exhausted and numb, she sat by her window, questioning everything. That's when she noticed something odd, a white feather floating down right outside her window. Even though it wasn't snowing and no birds were nearby, she ignored it at first. But then, the next morning, she found another feather, this time on her car dashboard. And then the dream started. Vivid, peaceful dreams where her father smiled and told her to breathe, that she wasn't alone. Now you may think, just dreams, feathers, grief playing tricks. But Laura kept feeling it, that calm presence, like someone was with her, protecting her, guiding her. She began to wonder, was it really just in her head? Or had something crossed over to help her heal? And here's where it gets even stranger, because Lara's story isn't the only one. In fact, thousands of people around the world have reported seeing and feeling the exact same signs, especially when they were going through something painful, confusing, or life-altering. And the deeper you look, the more these moments seem connected, not to chance, but to something greater. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the 7 most powerful signs that angels may be visiting you. Some of these signs are incredibly subtle, others almost impossible to ignore. But one thing is certain, once you start noticing them, it's like opening a door that can never be closed again. But before we go further, you need to ask yourself one thing. Are you ready to see the signs, even if they challenge everything you believe so far? Because sign number 1, it's already happening. And it begins when the clock hits 3:33. Stay with me. What comes next might just change everything. Laura didn't believe in angels. Not really. She grew up in a practical household, where feelings were meant to be managed, not explored. Her mother used to say, if you can't see it or touch it, it doesn't exist. And for most of her life, Laura believed that, until the signs began. It started with 3:33. At first, she thought it was a coincidence. She'd wake up in the middle of the night and glance at her phone. 3:33. Then it happened again. And again. Not once, not twice, but 5 nights in a row. Every single time, she felt a strange stillness in the air, like time had paused in something, or someone was watching her. Not in a fearful way. It was calm, comforting, but undeniably present. She Googled it one night, just out of curiosity. Why do I keep waking up at 3:33? That's when she saw it. Page after page of people sharing their stories, calling 3:33 the angelic hour, a time when the veil between the physical and spiritual world is said to be thinner, a time when your guardian angels might try to connect with you. Laura stared at the screen for a long time, her heart racing. Could this really be happening to her? But here's what made it even stranger. Other parts of her life started shifting too. She began hearing whispers in her dreams. Not words she could remember, but a feeling, messages, warmth, as if someone was trying to tell her that everything would be okay. And then came the lights. Not big flashes, but flickers. Soft, short bursts in her bedroom lamp. Even though she had changed the bulb, her phone would randomly light up with no notifications. And once, the radio in her car turned on by itself, playing her father's favorite song. Still, she said nothing. Not to her husband, not to her friends. How do you explain something like this without sounding unwell? But inside, Laura knew this wasn't just her imagination. It was too precise, too meaningful. The signs were lining up, and they weren't stopping. She wasn't alone. That was the message. And what's more haunting, these signs don't only come to people after loss. They also appear when you're at a major crossroads. When you feel stuck, lost, or unsure of what's next. That's when angels come closer. That's when the signs begin. And just as Laura was starting to make sense of it all, something happened that would turn her quiet curiosity into an urgent search for answers. It started with a shadow at the end of her hallway, a shadow that moved, even when no one else was home. Laura stood frozen, staring down the hallway, heart pounding in her chest. The shadow had disappeared, but something about the air felt different, heavy, charged. She told herself it could have been her eyes adjusting to the dark, or maybe a trick of the light from the street lamp outside. But deep down, she knew better. That moment was different. Not frightening exactly, but undeniably real. And once again, that same feeling returned. The quiet sense that someone or something was near. The strange part? Laura wasn't the only one noticing these changes. Her 6-year-old son, Noah, had begun talking to someone in his room. At first, she thought it was just imaginary play, as kids often do. But one morning, he looked up at her during breakfast and said, "Mom, Grandpa told me not to be scared of the dark anymore." Laura nearly dropped her coffee. "What did you say?" she asked. "He was in my dream," Noah said casually. "He was glowing. He smiled and told me angels are real." That shook her. Was this all connected? The feathers, the dreams, the number 333, the lights, the shadow, and now, her own child seeing and hearing the same messages? Or was she reading too much into everything? Meanwhile, her husband, Dan, didn't believe any of it. He chalked it up to stress and grief, suggesting they all needed a break. But Laura couldn't let it go. She started keeping a journal, recording each sign, each moment. The more she paid attention, the more patterns emerged. It was as if the universe, or someone beyond it, was slowly revealing something, guiding her, protecting her. But from what? That's the question that haunted her the most. Because just when she thought she was beginning to understand the signs, one appeared that felt like a warning. It happened late one evening, during a storm. Thunder cracked over the house, and the wind howled like it was carrying voices. Laura was in the kitchen, staring at the flickering overhead light, when her phone buzzed. No message, no call, just a screen lit up with the time. 3:33. Again, she felt it. Before anything even happened, that strange chill crawling across her skin, a shift in the air, like everything had gone still except her heartbeat. She turned slowly, and for the first time, she heard it, a whisper, not from inside her head, but right there in the room, soft, urgent, and so clear. "Get Noah." She didn't hesitate. She ran to his room, flung the door open, and froze. The window was wide open, curtains flapping wildly in the wind. Noah was asleep, completely still, but his bed was soaked from rain. She rushed him and pulled him close, her hands shaking. He stirred, slowly opened his eyes, and whispered, "I saw Grandpa again. He said you had to hurry." The timing, the words, the warning. Something was building, something she couldn't explain. It no longer felt like signs for comfort. It felt like preparation. For what? She didn't know. But whatever was coming, it was close. The next day, Laura found a black feather on her doorstep. Not white like before, black. It felt different, heavier, and when she reached down to pick it up, her hand started to tremble. That night, her dreams were dark, shadows moving, whispers louder, more urgent. She awoke drenched in sweat, heart pounding. The signs were changing. shifting from gentle guidance to something more serious. The messages felt less like reassurance and more like a warning. And the worst part? She was starting to feel watched. Even in the daylight, Laura couldn't shake the feeling. It clung to her like damp clothes, this constant awareness that she was being observed. Even in daylight, even with other people around. The feeling wasn't always dark, but it wasn't comforting anymore either. It was heavy. It followed her through the grocery store, in the parking lot, even while she was brushing her teeth. It made her glance over her shoulder. It made her lock doors twice. And that black feather? She kept in a drawer, unsure whether to throw it away or hold on to it like a warning she didn't fully understand. One evening, Laura decided to visit the local library. She wasn't looking for spiritual books or angel stories. Not at first. But something tugged her toward the spirituality aisle. A plain black book caught her eye. No title, no author, just a symbol on the cover, a wing with a crack running through it. She picked it up and flipped through the pages. That's when her breath caught. Inside were handwritten entries, journal-style pages from different people. Every one of them spoke about signs, numbers repeating, dreams, feathers, glowing lights, shadows, and then the change. Each story followed a pattern. The signs began gently, encouraging, protective. Then a shift, dreams turning darker, lights flickering more violently, heavy shadows, a voice whispering warnings. Then came the twist. One woman wrote, "I thought they were angels. I thought I was safe. But not every visitor comes to protect. Some just need an invitation." Laura slammed the book shut. Her hands were shaking. What did that mean, an invitation? Had she somehow opened a door? All this time, she thought the signs were from guardian angels. But what if something else had slipped through? Something pretending to be light? That night, Noah began sleepwalking. He walked straight to the front door and tried to open it. His eyes were open, but empty. Laura rushed to stop him, calling his name over and over. He didn't respond until she shouted, "You're safe? I'm here." And then, just like that, he blinked and collapsed into her arms. Later, while trying to settle him back in bed, she noticed his drawing pad lying on the floor. He had drawn something in the dark with a black crayon. It was a wing, just like the symbol on the book, but this one was torn. And underneath it, in a child's uneven handwriting, it read, "He says you're almost out of time." Laura couldn't sleep that night. She sat at the edge of Noah's bed, watching him breathe, afraid to blink. Her mind raced with questions. Who was he? What did almost out of time mean? The drawing haunted her. The wing was torn, almost bleeding through the paper. And that phrase, it wasn't something Noah would say. It didn't sound like a child at all. It felt like a message meant for her, a final warning. At 3:33 a.m., the room grew still again. No wind, no sound, just that thick, pressing silence. The hallway light flickered once, then twice, then went out. Laura stood up slowly, her eyes locked on the bedroom door. She didn't know why, but something told her this was it. Whatever had been circling her life, whatever had been sending the signs, it was here now. She stepped into the hallway, heart pounding. The air felt heavier with every step. As she reached the living room, she saw it, a figure standing near the window. It wasn't a shadow anymore. It had shape, height, wings. But the wings were torn, darkened, nothing like the glowing presence she imagined angels to have. The figure didn't speak, but Laura felt it deep in her chest. This wasn't a protector. It was the one pretending to be. Then, just behind the figure, another presence emerged. Soft light, gentle, familiar. A second winged figure, but this one glowed with a soft, golden hue. It moved between Laura and the first figure, wings wide, and for a moment, everything froze. Time, sound, even her breath. A pulse of light filled the room. Not violent, but powerful. The darker figure stepped back, fading slowly until it vanished entirely, leaving behind only a single white feather where it stood. Laura dropped to her knees, overwhelmed. The pressure lifted. The house felt calm again. Safe. And in that moment, She understood. The signs were real. The messages, the dreams, the numbers, they weren't just comfort. They were warnings. The angels had been there all along, watching, guiding, protecting her from what she didn't yet know. She picked up the feather and held it close, tears falling down her cheeks. Relief washed over her like a wave. But as she stood, Noah appeared in the hallway, rubbing his eyes. "Mom," he whispered, "he's not gone. He just changed his shape." And somewhere outside, the wind picked up again.